The Penn State Department of Meteorology and Atmospheric Science has a storied history spanning out over the course of almost nearly a century, churning out graduates, thousands of them, that have worked in industries not only here in the US, but also across the globe. And you're going to meet another one tonight. She is a class of 2011 graduate in undergrad here at the Penn State Department of Meteorology and Atmospheric Science. She currently works as a global commodity research manager for Mars Wrigley. Please welcome to the show, Katie Whalen. Katie, good to see you. We are graduates together.
Yes, thanks, Rob. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Take us through your academic and kind of career journey to what you're doing today.
Yeah, sure. So as you said, I graduated from Penn State in 2011 with a degree in meteorology and a minor in agricultural business. So really had a passion for trying to combine both of those together based on where I grew up and some of the work that my dad and grandfather did in farming practices growing up. So after graduation, I had the privilege of joining Mars Wrigley right away. So Mars Wrigley obviously makes products that we love: Snickers, M&Ms, Twix, all those delicious candies, and that stuff that goes into them, like sugar and cocoa and nuts, are all agricultural materials that weather has a huge impact on. So I could apply my meteorology skills there, my forecasting skills, directly to supply chain impacts for some products that are very tasty and that everyone loves. So I could see the direct impact from the meteorology and the forecasting work that I did. Throughout my 10 years at Mars, I've gone from doing primarily just forecasting to more of economic analysis on how does meteorology actually impact prices of materials. And now I'm actually managing the team. So my role has shifted a little bit further away from meteorology to now managing teams of meteorologists and economists to pull all of that analysis together. So it's a great position to be in, where I get the oversight of the strategy and the impact and getting to work on the communication and letting some of the other real deeper technical experts handle the day-to-day forecasting.
Mm-hmm. And your job is truly global. You've actually had the opportunity to travel all around the world to different sites and make those visits. What do you do whenever you're traveling to a place like Africa?
Yeah, so I have had the privilege to travel all over the world with my job. Being behind the desk is one thing, and seeing the meteorology and talking about what you think the crop impacts are, but then going to see that in real life, understanding how the crop is farmed, understanding how the farmer practices work, when weather might be most important, and seeing that with your own eyes adds huge benefit to be able to produce accurate forecasts and communicate them in a good way. So usually when I go on these trips to different origins around the world, whether it be sugarcane or cocoa or peanuts, it's getting a good visual observation of what's happening, and then understanding from farmers how weather impacts them day to day, how it impacts the supply chain, and what things we need to be watching out for from behind the desk so that we can be more effective communicators and forecasters for the business.
Talk about the challenges with forecasting for crops literally spread out around the world.
Yes, it is a challenge. I would say the biggest challenge is probably data. We're very grateful in the US for the National Weather Service and NOAA and CPC and all of the great data and models that they produce. But when it comes to trying to understand forecasts in different agricultural materials in China or Thailand or Africa, for instance, we're in some cases collecting our own data. In the case of cocoa, we're even more lucky to have teams of associates on the ground in West Africa. So they're giving us checks every single week to say, this is what cocoa looks like today. Your forecast last week was dry. We recognize that it was dry. It's verifying the way that we would expect. So we get real-time interaction from some people on the ground in some of our crop origins to help us verify some of those forecasts, which helps us overcome some of the challenges, but definitely challenges elsewhere around the globe. We can't have people everywhere, unfortunately.
Let's talk a little bit about climate change, and what's the perspective that you have, and what's the position that your company takes with regards to a changing climate?
Yeah, so we've definitely recognized climate change impacts in the work that we do. And Mars recognized that as well. We're a science-based company, and we use the science to help us form decisions and opinions. And our purpose statement, which was launched just recently, is: the world we want tomorrow starts with how we do business today. So given that purpose statement, climate change is a huge piece of that to help us guide future business decisions. And we've committed as a company to help mitigate climate change, do our part when it comes to climate change, and significantly improve the way our raw material supply chains work to help us meet some commitments like we're net zero greenhouse gas by 2050, which is a huge commitment for a company of our size. But using that to know that we're supporting the planet, we're supporting the people in our supply chain, we're supporting farmers, and we're supporting the pets in the case of our pet care business, to make sure that we're giving back to the planet the way it's giving to us to be a successful company.
Absolutely. What do you like to do when you're not at work?
When I'm not at work, definitely hanging out with friends, checking out new restaurants has been one of my passions, and tap dancing. So a rare skill hobby of mine is tap dancing, which I've done since I was younger and continuing to do that on the side when I have time.
Favorite memories from your time at Penn State that you're willing to share tonight?
Ah, um, my favorite memory, I think it was either freshman or sophomore year. There was a huge snowstorm. And I remember going out with some of my colleagues and friends from Urban Hall, taking some makeshift sleds at the time, going to Hub Lawn and sledding, having a great night out. I think that was one of the first where I started to solidify some friendships.
Any advice that you would have for today's crop of meteorology and atmospheric science students, especially if they're wanting to go into more of the business side of things?
Yes, I think take advantage of all the opportunities that you can at Penn State, not just within the meteorology department, but find those opportunities in other places. So the business department is very well regarded at Penn State as well. And try to learn and take in as much as you can, because all of those small experiences that you could speak to in an interview or apply to future jobs that you may have are all going to be really beneficial.
All right, Katie. Well, thanks so much. We could talk all night, but we've got to wrap things up. Katie Whalen, a class of 2011 graduate here from the Penn State Department of Meteorology and Atmospheric Science, now working as a global commodity research manager for Mars Wrigley. Thanks so much, Katie. Good to chat with you again. And we will be back in just a moment with more.